I am a panda. I think Esther and the parents and Amy are the most closely based on real people, but Nate is completely invented and May is completely invented. And as May is the 4-year-old daughter that she gets a babysitting job. And May was such a pleasure to write because she was totally fictional, and I felt like she surprised me when I was writing, even though she wasn't real. It was a very creepy experience. My dad is embarrassed that I say that he reads magazines in the bathroom. And also there's a later part in the book where I say the dad is going bald, and when he finished the book he called me and asked if he was going bald when he's not. My mom thinks that May is based on my younger sister, but she made that up for herself. But the story of the babysitting is based on a real babysitting experience that I had where I felt like I was being paid to be someone's friend and not their babysitter. But now I forgot the second question.
No, I was just asking what your parents made.
Oh, right. I connected the two questions.
But definitely answered them. So how old were you when you actually wrote this book?
I was 22. I was the same age as Esther.
Okay. And what inspired you to do it? Was there one incident, or did it all just...
I wanted to write about babysitting because I feel like it's something that most young women do. And there's the Babysitters Club, which I've read all of, but for grown-ups, there's not like the Babysitters Club for grown-ups, so that's what my book is. Yeah, but the thing about kids moving back home, like now this is a very popular topic to talk about, but that's not something I had in mind. I was just actually living with my parents, so, or I had just lived with them, and I've lived with my parents 4 times in adulthood, so it's very close to my heart.
The other thing I immediately wanted to know about, and I don't want to give away too much of the book for those of you who haven't read it, but the title for me was a really interesting choice. And I wondered about its different meanings for you and how you arrived at it.
The first title that I came up with was What We Do When You're Not Here, which was too long. And I thought, but I loved that title, and I was like my pet, my baby. And my mom would say, oh, everyone will remember what we did when you were not there that last time. And I'm like, Mom, it's not the title, you forgot. So there's a line in chapter 2 where Nate, who's the dad character, says, like, oh, something about a fallback plan. Because when you go to acting school, people ask you, what's your fallback plan? Because they assume you aren't really going to be an actress. So that's where my editor, Dennis, came up with the title. But once I started thinking about it, it really applies to Amy, who wants to be an artist but becomes a mother. It applies to Nate, who ends up as an accountant and a dad, and like trying to be cool by smoking weed in like the middle school parking lot. And so everyone has a plan B, I guess.
Yeah, with you, I mean, you're bringing up parts of the plot, which I don't want to use the word dark, but there are definitely lives that don't pan out in the course of the book, and there's a real kind of starkness about it. And I think although it's so funny, there's such a core of poignancy and seriousness to it. Like, would you characterize it as comedic? Do you resent that characterization?
No, I don't resent it, but I think all of Esther's jokes and the funny things she's thinking about come from how depressed she is. And I think some of the funniest comedians, or even the funniest people I know, have this really dark side where we're trying to amuse ourselves to get out of the dark place. So I think that's where the humor comes from, which to me makes humor more interesting.
Definitely, and it's something I was talking about with you yesterday. Is I feel like it feels fresh to see a young woman writing with the certain kind of harsh honesty that you do. Not that it hasn't always been in the case in real life, but I feel like female fiction particularly has been pigeonholed in certain ways, and that's part of what makes this the fact that this kind of genre-less and doesn't conform to those cliches.
Yeah, like I don't think Esther is 100% likable all the time, but I think that's human about Esther. And we were also talking about Mindy Kaling's book, where she talks about women in romantic comedies, how they can be flawed, but they only can be flawed as a person who falls down, because that's the only like acceptable flaw for a woman to have. And I think Esther is more real, where there's some self-loathing, it's self-deprecating. She has these big dreams, but she's also like crushed with despair. But I feel like that's what it is to be 22 and be a woman.
And to be that young can be extremely lonely, which isn't something that's acknowledged at all in our culture, I feel. And this book is speaking with loneliness even as she's living with her parents and hanging out with her friends.
Yeah. The other weird thing about getting your book published is like, it's almost like you don't know what the story is until other people are like, oh, you've written a book about, oh, this book has so much, and I'm like, it does? Like, I didn't think of Esther as lonely until recently when someone else said, oh, she captures the loneliness of her play. And I'm like, Esther's lonely? I'm kind of Esther, but I'm not. But what? And so that's a little weird.
And I know you said you've been making the mistake of reading your reviews online,
know.
like your Amazon reviews, which you cannot do.
I know. I need an intervention. That's why you all are here.
So you all bear witness to this. And before we move on to
Right.
we talk so much about like comfort books, and one thing I love is the way you reference kind of canonical girls' literature in the course of the book, and yet this is so starkly disillusioned and so opposed to that. So I want to know, A, what your comfort reads are, although I can guess, and B, to what extent that was deliberate, the contrast.
Oh, interesting. I mean, when I was young, I read Francesca Leigh Block books over and over and over again, as did Lily, who's here somewhere, and Lindsay. Oh, that's a funny story. Lindsay and I met when we were 13 on a Francesca Leigh Block listserv, and now we both live in Brooklyn. I'm off topic. I actually didn't reread The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe when I wrote this because I didn't want to. I wanted it to come from my imagination and not from my memory. And I haven't reread any of those books from childhood because my memory of them is as if I lived them. Like, I feel like I lived The Secret Garden. So if I went back to it now, I would be like, that's a clumsy sentence or something. Like, I don't want to criticize this. I felt like I had such an experience.
No, totally. I recently reread Number the Stars.
Oh, I love that one.
They really hold up.
Oh, see, that's so disappointing. I don't want to be disappointed.
Maybe I'm jaded. I don't know, but I didn't feel the terror. Like, we kind of felt like she was going to come through the Holocaust, and did. So
I recently read The Diary of Anne Frank and enjoyed it.
I saw that one also. But you could argue that you're like the core reality.
That's true. It's a real experience. True story. Okay. So the next section begins with pandas. So if I can make the request of everyone raising their panda now, because this is my dream come true. Oh, no, that is so great. So you can put them down whenever you're hot, or I stop talking about pandas. So Esther, the main character, gets a babysitting job for a 4-year-old, and the parents of this 4-year-old also lost a baby 6 months earlier from SIDS. So now the 4-year-old is an only child, and Esther's babysitting her and telling her panda stories, which are the Chronicles of Narnia. The littlest panda puts on a cloche hat and climbs inside the armoire in which she found it. She can hear her brother running in the hallway, opening every door. She knows she has found the best hiding place and does a little dance. Then she touches the hat in the darkness, imagining how beautiful she must look. If only there were a mirror, she thinks. She knows where there is one and is tempted to leave the armoire, but she also knows that if she leaves, her brother will find her. Little does she know that her brother has given up the game. He doesn't want to play anymore. He wants to go downstairs and make a veggie burger, and then maybe go for a row around the misty lake with his 2 older siblings. The 4 panda children are staying with their uncle, and he is never home. He leaves them notes on the table in the foyer, written in a language that they don't understand. They often wonder if the notes explain why they are pandas and he is not. Whenever the pandas feel hungry, they go to the kitchen and the refrigerator is mysteriously restocked with groceries from Whole Foods. Still in the armoire, the young panda doesn't hear her brother's footsteps anymore. She holds her breath, she closes her eyes. She feels something delicate and cold on her cheek, something both foreign and familiar. Where could it have come from, she wonders. She spins around inside the closet looking for the exit, but gets caught in the trains of dozens of haute couture gowns, and before she knows it, all the walls have vanished, the gowns have turned into furs, the furs into trees with snow-laden boughs, and then she feels the flush of winter on her face, as though she has just entered the most wonderful dream.